aguthire murango agicoka kinjira open the door. Riu ngihingura murango, you know, like you never get a call like that usually. So I just opened the door and there she was. She said, Eddy's been stabbed. You know, one of the guys from the ambulance, agioka kinjira, you know, he's very, very critical. He said to me, he's very critical. It's very touch and go. I think those were the words that he said. He said it's very critical. He just said expect, you know, I just want you to expect the worst.
Karibu sana mwiroreri na muthikiria wa Hungura Media. O muthi ndirahungurira guku mwena wa Bristol na ndimuririkania ati njukire gucemania na mutumia mwana wake akorirwo thesherwo haha thutha haha urona duka-ini ino na nitugukorwo tukiaraniria na Irene thutha wa kahinda gatari haraihu no mbere ndaya njitikiria nguririkanie kana ngwire uhoro mwega wegie Icon Prime Properties ndingerigana ni kumwira uhoro wa kuigithia no matter what, no matter the situation, kuigithia no nginya tuigithie as long as twina mwiri uyu. Oya namba cia Icon Prime Properties ni gukorwo mari na migunda miega muno makiria kuria mwena wa Ngong, Juja, Mombasa, Diani, na Kitengela na Naivasha na Nanyuki. Koguo the wenda kuigithia mari na migunda miega muno makiria. Koguo oya namba horira Icon Prime Properties mere watu ni Shiru Stuart ni megoko magikuhengere kana magikwira ukuigithia mugunda na mbeca cigana ta. Na ririkana Icon Prime matuigananagia wega ni gukorwo ati mbeca ciao no urihe mugunda ucio na kahinda ka mieri 6 hatari na interest o yothe. Ni kugo ko mugunda ucio rendio 800 no kuriha magana mau 8 na mieri 6 utekuongererwo interest o yothe. Na riu guys niĩ nugamite haha ndigwa ndina gwitigira kuingi muno makiria ni tondu haha niho mwana wa Irene kana Eddy akorirwo akihuruka na itegute mahinda maingi tukuma haha tuthi tugacemania na Irene niguo atwire muthenya ucio ri wahanaga atia wakire ta mithenya iria ingi niguo tumenye uhoro makiria kuma kwi Irene. Irene, uhoro
ni mwega. Ni mwega.
Ni mwega.
Katikati.
Yeah, it's by God's grace.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Riu Irene ri ndikwenda gugucokia thutha muno makiria gukuria maundu maingi mana kuria mucii but no twende kumenya Irene njira nguhiri uciarirwo ku Ivo. Niguo mundu wi harora kwirorera a connect oh by the way niko nasoma na huyo, you know.
Ni njiarirwo Kabete ndi mwana wa Kiambu Lower Kabete. Nikuo ndaciarirwo and ndokire guku ndi about 20 years. So ciana ciakwa cikiciarirwo guku na cikarererwo guku. And ndathamire guku Bristol about 2000. So yeah, this has been our home for quite a long time.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah. 2000. Wow, it's over 26 years or 25, yeah?
I think so. Almost 26.
Wow.
So tuko 2025.
Oh, yeah.
So it's almost 26 years. Because before I did live in London, kidogo tu. Alafu sasa tukahamia Bristol. So, yeah.
Wow.
2000. Wow. Yeah.
Riu Irene Ray, well, di kwenda gugutwengeria muno kurigana na rugano rwaku ruria ukwenda gukorwo gituhengere but no nyende kumenya woka wathamira guku Bristol. Are you married? You have children? Of course you said.
I was married but it didn't work out.
Okay.
By the time this happened tutirari hamwe na either wa ciana.
Okay.
But he's also around and obviously we kind of have the process together.
Right.
Yeah. It's quite an experience, traumatic experience, really difficult, especially mutari hamwe, but nitwanyitanire hamwe tondu obviously mwana akiri witu ithueri. So yeah.
No twende kumenya Irene, muthenya ucio wakire ota mithenya iri ingi, what happened exactly that day?
Well, muthenya ucio ri it's only I can only recall the fact that kwari the last day of summer, the day the children broke out for summer. Koguo wari muthenya wa muico wa sukuru, makikihiga sukuru, and you know you're very excited about the beginning of summer. Kwari Friday, mweri 21 July 2023. So wari o muthenya ordinary, just like any other day. ndagĩrĩirwo nĩ gũkorwo ngĩruta wĩra ũtukũ mũthenya ũcio ngĩhũrĩrwo thimũ nĩ one of my colleagues, one of my seniors akĩnjĩra, actually we want to give you the night off today because we owe you some hours, and then when you come back to work you owe us like 2 hours, which was very strange, but I was so excited. I was like, oh yeah, I get a night off. Little did I know, I think God was just making a plan for me to be available that day. You know, otherwise it would have happened when I was at work. And then obviously when it happened, ndakĩrĩ nyũmba ũrĩa mũkoragwo o hwainĩ mũciĩ mũkĩnyihia hwaĩ na ciana. I think the way I remember, ndaikarĩte hau metha-inĩ ngĩrora TV ngĩnyuaga cai ũguo, you know how in the evening ũigagĩra magũrũ igũrũ, you just put your feet up for the evening, and that's where I was when I got the knock at the door to tell me what happened. Yeah.
Around what time?
It was around kwarĩ kĩndũ just after 10 o'clock, like just nearly 11 o'clock, just before 11 o'clock in the night, because it happened just before 11. Yeah, so I just ran out and I went, it just happened to be just yards away from our door. Rĩu gĩkiuma gĩgĩteng'era harĩa makire.
Ũrĩa waringa mũrango rĩ arĩ ũ?
Mũrata wake, one of his friends. Tondũ hau marĩ rĩ nĩ harĩ, there was mamĩtaga night, which is usually like if this is the Caribbean community, if someone has passed away after I think 9 nights, they hold like a party, a celebration of life. So hari na 9 nights, so it was like a little street party.
Right.
So rĩu mwana ũcio rĩ rĩu marĩ hau, they were just hanging out ũrĩa mangĩkorwo they're up the road, just up the road from the house. Agĩũka akĩgũthagũtha mũrango, you know, so one of his friends, a girl, she just came and knocked the door really loudly, and then she just screamed out from, yani nginya ndaiguire eja, yani agũthire mũrango agĩcoka akĩnjĩra, open the door. Rĩu ngĩhingũra mũrango, you know, like you never get a call like that usually. So I just opened the door and there she was. She said, Eddy's been stabbed. And I asked her, where? And then she said, just by Dad's Cabs. That's where the place is. It's called the Dad's Cabs. It's a taxi company. So she just grabbed my hand and just we ran up. All I did was put on some shoes. I was in my night dress. Darina night dress. Yuri okora na night dress na, you know, like a dressing gown. All I did was grab a sweater. Ngĩoya na tugicoka rĩu ngĩkĩra tũrava tukiambata hau ũguo. So that's where we found him on the floor.
Na harĩ na andũ?
Harĩ na andũ aingĩ tondũ makĩrĩ hau for the 9 night. So harĩ na andũ aingĩ. It was they had loud music and they had a lot of people around. And ona nĩ kahwainĩ ũguo, so even though kwĩna street lights rĩ gũkĩrĩ na nduma nĩ ũtukũ. You know, so harĩ na andũ aingĩ, but andũ arĩa marĩ hau rĩ nona o megũkĩte na itũmi ciao. It just happened that mwana wakwa na arata ake marĩ hau in the area, perhaps maybe just around there because of the music. They are hanging out there and just listening to the music. Yeah.
Nĩ wathiĩ nĩ wamũkora he was on the floor. Nĩ wamenyire like nĩkĩ gwathiĩ na mbere, like the first impression yaku rĩ yarĩ nĩkĩ gwathiĩ na mbere, no wamũtheca?
No.
How was it?
No, none of that. Macio more they wouldn't really apply in that moment. Yeah, in that moment, it's just the trauma and the shock of kumukora in that state. Todo he was still conscious, but he couldn't dagia hotire kwaria. Damukorire still conscious, but he slide in and out of consciousness. So my first thought was not even what happened, because the girl niakijirire aguthautha murango niugire Eddy's been stabbed. My first thought was, where is the ambulance? You know, right, where is the help? Have they called the ambulance? Niderirwo already friends yake ni mahurire ambulance. So the first thing was, where is this ambulance? And just held him, talking to him, kumwira tu ndagacoge ndagakome. Just try and reassure, help is coming. So that's what we did, me and my older son. Todo ithuere nĩ tuokire, nona tumonyo ba tuhurukite. So we both came and we came out and held his hand and held on to him. Tukimureassure, tukimwiraga help is coming. Yeah.
Na hindi no uramwariria ri nuona atareka ati tara connect uri uramwira.
I can't even I can't remember, but I do know that he was conscious and I do know that he was awake when I held him. Ndamunyitire ginya riria ambulance ndamuhandire over to the ambulance.
And his eyes were open at that time.
Well, Makinya, by the time I handed him over, he did go unconscious. He did slip into unconsciousness. So I remember being on my knees and handing him over to the ambulance guy. Na in that moment, ni akoretwo slip into unconsciousness. So I think they tried. Todo dakorire one of the girls muratomwe wake ri two of them actually dakorire arateri ake makigeria. They were just holding him, reassuring him, makigeragia go stop the bleeding. Obviously nona niyo tukuna, it's a bit dark, ekirite guo dark, koguo ona mutiramenya where he's bleeding from, but they were just trying. The one that they did identify, they were just trying to stop the bleeding. So they were trying to help.
No, but stabbing. It happened, they were not there.
No, I don't think any of his friends saw. Ari across. So where I found him, it happened just yards away in the middle of the park. So he ran down and went to where the people were. So he did manage to run from where it happened, just maybe yards away, and then run down to where the people were congregated.
And then he fell there.
Yeah, and he just came, and I don't know what he said. I just hear, I just go by what they told me, that he came in and then he slammed into the shop window and then collapsed by the time they realized what had happened, he would have come and collapsed into somebody's lap. But none of all of that is clear, and none of that even registers. I think that in that moment none of that matters.
Twi guku thiini wa bururi uyu Irene na twina ciana, twina teenagers, na aria marerera haro no mena teenagers, na ni turagerera ihinda iritu muno makiria. No twende kumenya atiriri kuma kuri we Eddy ri ari mwana wa muthemba uriku agikura ukimurera ri, how was he growing up?
He was just happy, just a very happy child, very sociable. He has good friends, as I've told you before about his friends. So he was just like any other ordinary teenager. Like, he loves his friends. He's gonna go out and spend a lot of time with his friends. They are gonna get up to mischief. Nothing out of the ordinary. Apart from the fact that we all know teenagers will challenge you. They will push the boundaries. But nothing ridiculous or nothing that I felt was leading towards danger, certainly. The one thing that I do know now is that you never quite know what the kids are getting up to when they're not in your presence. And I just don't know what I would go back and change. But he was such a happy child, such a loving child. And I think that having evidence enough ya kuonania the character of him based on the feedback and the response that I received kuma kuri aratake, kuma kuri community, because when he was out of my door, he would meet people the way that he was as a person. He's just really cherished. We miss him so much. Not just me, even the people who knew him, the people who loved him. He was such a lovable child.
Ni gutwirite wina twana tutatui, they are all boys. Eddy ari mwana wa kaigana? Wa keri.
My middle child. He was named after my dad. So I don't know. I think Eddy would always have been Eddy. He would have always been his character. And he, I don't know. I was really just fond of the fact that I got to name him after my dad. And that was really important to me. I don't really, there's nothing out of the ordinary. Just a normal, loving child. Just a normal teenager.
Avire shukuru oro wega.
Yeah, he did
Akarekia shukuru.
Yeah, near school, Akirekia Sukuru. He went to America and lived with my sister for a little while. And then came back. Then went to college. So I wouldn't say anything out of the ordinary, to be honest. Apart from challenges, iria ordinary, when teenagers, you know, like certainly they will push your boundaries.
Yeah.
They are going to go and get up to mischief. And that's, I think, for me,
normal.
it's just normal. Teenage years, he's trying to figure out himself as a person.
Yeah.
That's the way I always see it.
Yeah.
And because I was very actively involved in whatever he's doing and the decisions that he's making, I had all the faith in the world. You know, I never lost faith and I never lost trust with him despite any of the mischief he got up to and any other choices, because that's what you do as a parent, you know. So it's really sad.
It's really sad.
Very sad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, riu nimwagika ati ambulance ni yakinya. Already hidio ario sawa. Like near the into a conscious, but nimwamuneana. Then after that gushoka guthi atia.
I actually did I wanted to go with him. I would have liked to ride with him in the ambulance. Nakejira digi ride now they have like about 7 people working on him. So they don't really have space in the ambulance for me. So I could have gone with the police, but I chose to go with a friend because he felt like it would have been quicker. By the time we're at the area, Masoke clear, you know, because there was a barricade, they barricaded it and cordoned off the area. So I felt like it was easier to go with a friend. So that's what I did. Tugikinya thibitari, tugikorania the major department, this our majors, where is where all critical incidents go to. But by the time I got to the hospital, and once you're inside that department, they won't let you in as a parent. They don't allow family there. So we were met by them. Gekemera, my child has just come in. Na magetuira, you're not allowed to go inside where he is because they're still helping him. But they put us in a family room. You know, one of the guys from the ambulance, you know, he's very, very critical. He said to me, he's very critical. It's very touch and go. I think those were the words that he said. He said, it's very critical. He just said, expect, you know, I just want you to, expect the worst. Hope for the best, but expect the worst. I actually, when he said that, it feels like he was talking about someone else to me when I reflect, because I didn't do that. I didn't expect the worst. I expected the outcome. Like I was hopeful and over hopeful. Like I just tried. We kept praying. One of our friends, one of the Kenyan ladies, once they knew, because the friends were there. Friends told friends who told friends, and this one girl told her mom, and the mom came to the hospital to me. My son, one of his other friends, and my one of the Kenyan friends. So we were praying. So not in any moment did even for a moment gesiria ati no survive. So it's still traumatic, you know. It really is. Every time your mind goes there, it's just traumatic. You relive it over and over and over again. Yeah. Wow.
So makigerania.
Yeah.
For a day or 2 hours?
For an hour.
For an hour?
Yeah, it was only for an hour because we got there just before 11, and they came to get me just after midnight. So they said that they pronounced him after midnight, so we from 21st to 22nd, so after midnight. It took an hour, and they just called me, and they came to the room, and they just said, we are really sorry, we couldn't save him. I don't know. I don't know where I went from that moment, because I certainly was not there. You know, I think I was there in body, but how do you hear that? How do you plan for that? Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Really. Very, very hard.
Wow, okay, pole. Wow. Then after that, you know, mugekeinuka mushie, you went back home.
Yeah. I didn't go back home because we couldn't go back home. Within the cordon, because our home is within the cordon, so we couldn't go back home. They said you can either go to a hotel or go somewhere else. So we went to my sister's house. Yeah. We went to my sister's house from that night. So we planned the send-off while living at my sister's. Between the two places. I wanted to keep my home open so his friends have a place to go in the community where we have lived all his life. So I kept my home open, but we weren't living there. We were just coming there for maombolezi and then going back to my sister's house. It's not far. Yeah, and then consequently we just moved. We never came back here. We just moved after that. I don't know, like kana modern, you know. I think you just take each day as it comes, you know. I think koluzmwana woko breakaga in ways which are indescribable, you know. And for me, when I see nire, I think you just grow into the person that's going to support your children.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you have I have the one of a grieving mother, but I also have the one who's the support for my other children, you know, and certainly most of his friends, because these kids are really traumatized. It's the worst. You couldn't even wish this on your enemy. It's the worst. So, you know, it feels like time is passing, but I'm still in that place. Most times, almost like, you know, you're stuck in the past, but time is quickly moving forward. So it's really hard to explain. I think, you know, grief comes in waves, really, and you just learn to cope. You just have to learn to cope with, or rather, maybe like figure out how to control. Because taru already adena ciana ciakwa tagaka kanini ri nona digienda akorwo ati hingo ciothe day consumed, because it means that, you know, you lose a part of yourself. But I still have to be there tondu ciana ciakwa ni ciranidi mamu wao. So it's just a matter of you learning to be able to balance both. I have moments like that, like earlier on today. It could be something like a song will play or a memory will drop into my head and it just crushes you, you know. But then when that happens, you know, because I've maybe the counseling right from the beginning, and my therapist would say, when you get a moment, don't try to like push it away. Just go through it, like walk through it, feel it, go through it, and then pack it. You know, it's almost like learning to pack it away. So you don't get away from it. You go through it, and then you put it aside. It's like you've kind of like walked through it. There is no other way around it.
Wow. Hey, mwiroreri na muthikiria wa Hungura Media ni turathio na mbere na guthikiriria rugano rwa Irene agituhengere. Na guys, this one I have to admit, this is one of a most difficult interview for me to do, ni tondu ndenda kuhana ta ndirarurumuria ironda, koguo ni ndirageria gukorwo ndi more aware ni ciuria iriku ngukorwo ngiuria Irene, nikio raigua rimwe ringi sazingine mpaka na stama, because Irene, I know it happened like 1 year ago, and di haha tururumure ironda kuri ciaku. That's why I'm quite sensitive with what I'm asking you. Na you only share with us whatever you feel that you're comfortable at the moment. Tutikwenda kururumuria ironda itugo. And at the same time, we want to keep these people aware that this thing can happen to anybody. Nemo iwa Irene, kireta mithenyeri ege, hakuwa na expect anything like that can happen to her. So we are also here tukimenyaga turarera teenagers go kumwena wa UK kana abroad, mwena wa UK wa USA, kuria guothe uri nginyo na kuria mwena wa Kenya. Ni kama sasa dunia yote imefanana. Like teenagers have become very very difficult, and especially in social media, they learn ni kama wezi kusema tu ni wa America au ni wa UK, wote wana behave the same at the moment, sindio?
Really, for me, the biggest thing igeda kugari ni ati you never know what's happening in your child's life. Na niogeragia muno kumenya ni atakurathi na mbere in your child's life, and maybe you will never know. Todo anywhere in life ndungimenya mundu maundu make mothe in and out like completely, you know, but you do try. No, ngoro yakwa niraigua more concerned ni undu wa ciana citu, where the world is at the moment. And you know, it's not even just like Kenyan children, it's the teenagers in this country as a whole. Maybe not teenagers, generation younger, the younger generation. Because personally, I feel like they are so disconnected to humanity, where taking a life is not even a big deal, you know. This is what becomes apparent. Because riria rigirio there wonaga uhoro ucio on the news, uiguaga ni guthirio guo, like earlier on when I was telling you, I get the notifications I see, and it's not just our, you know, like it's everyone, it's anyone, you know, like black or white, whatever, you know. Riu ni undu twagirwo ni gukorwo tukiaria, and it needs to become more of a mainstream conversation together, just to try and get into the minds of our young people to understand why they feel that need, and why it feels as though it doesn't really matter to take a life, which was not common before. Like, I remember a few years back when on the news would be like about these boys who killed a child. Like, I don't know whether you know about this, it was on the news years ago, and that was really shocking, because you never used to hear about children killing children, but now it's become so much more like it's normal. And it just became normal. It's almost like, okay, you know, it's part of where we are now, but it doesn't have to be, you know. I don't talk about it as someone who has the answers. I just talk about it as someone who thinks we can do better. You know, I think we can as parents especially, or as families, if we were able to bridge the gap between the families of people who have suffered this as a victim, a family of a victim, but then come together with families of perpetrators, because I feel as though we are losing both ways, in the sense that koroni mwana waku wikite undu ta uyu ri, onawe you lose, you know, because ndigweciria kwe muciari ungikorwo comfortable and content ukimenyaga mwana waku ekitio undu wa, you know, undu hano you cannot be unaffected by this if it was the other way around. You know, ciana ici cito turereire in a system which I feel is very very prejudiced and unfair to them. And Dirona, I always think that developed this stance as a defense mechanism. The only problem is now spilling over and affecting us. So it's like we are fighting against each other. Nona hadu hagokorwo ate ciana, they see each other as brothers. They now see each other as enemies. And, you know, like, I don't know why that is. You know, so that's my thought process at the moment, where I'm thinking we need to get to a place where we can bring both sides together. And I think if we could do that, it can hinder or it can prevent other children who are growing into this. We have this age who are teenagers, and Eddy's age, which is like late teens into their 20s, but we have younger kids who are growing up in this, you know. Musiari wothe muigua gohoro cio ona news-inĩ ri, kana rĩngĩ it happened to someone who knows someone in your school, it's something that the kids actually are really aware about, na nĩ maragio horo cio. So actually the trauma is it's like a domino effect where you might think this doesn't concern me because it's not happening to me immediately to me, but it's affecting your children and affecting where they are at the school, and it's affecting them socially and emotionally. So if we can get those two sides together, we can start to try and figure out how to change this for the coming generation.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Nero Irene re we mwina tuhitu twaku twiri mwatigirwo ri ni mwa mukirire uteithio like wa counseling.
I did. Me and the little one. Nie ri da ofirwo counseling. We ofirwo counseling as a family.
Okay.
Kuma kanithaini, my church, which have been amazing. They've been with us this whole journey. Tondu nona nikuo kanitha mwana wakwa akoretwo athie. Okay. He grew up there from when he was like 9. Na during those years in between riria mwana rigi ateguthi kanitha kana ategu follow through re he had just come back akoretwo acoka riu twathiana ke kanitha.
Right.
So the church was very supportive. Magi to offer counseling for the rest of the family. Mostly the girls. The boys didn't. Like my nephews didn't and my older son didn't. But the little one did. So
and it's been helpful.
Yeah, he had it for like a year because we are now at 19 months. So he had it for a year and I'm still having mine. Mine is ongoing. Yeah.
Wow. Na in community wise ni mago supportire wega community ya Bristol in general?
Yeah. First of all, the Kenyan community. Obviously, the Kenyan community is amazing because we do come together and we do carry each other and hold each other up, which is really great. But then for me, it's also the St. Paul's community and the Caribbean community. Like basically, it's a multicultural community, and they all felt this with us. They all walked through this with us.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, eroreri ahungura twi haha paki koguo moigwa inegene ria ciana cigithaka mumenye turekire interview no paki na haha murona tuikarire ino ni bench na bench ino inimitwo after Eddy niwe mwana wa Irene ni gukoro agitwira atiriri kihumo kia bench ino nakio rikiraumire ku na no wega Irene utumenyithia atiriri mwana waku ni okaraga kuhutiria gakwira my friends are like these nyoka na arata ke kwa kunyumba mucii magaceranira uguo that kind of a thing. Yeah. Na walikuwa tu sawa.
Yeah, he had a lot of friends. He was a lover. He had so many friends. Like, wow. I suppose, like it's when you know many faces. I'm sure lots of parents men are experience ya okoro where always yana si okaga gwaku kana osionaga around na rege osio etu audio. You don't know their names. Like no akoro there's about 4 or 5 that you know their names and their faces because they are closer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Neo ya andu aingi no kwi aria arataku ogetua osio like that one is my friend. So they are friends and they are acquaintances. So I know a lot. But they've been so amazing. They've been so amazing that's where nie jugaga ati niendete aratake ogo ni ndaiga niendete aratake but now I can see on aratake ni mamwendete. And that's priceless.
Wow. Inayo bench no.
Riu tondu bench ino ni ithu twa requested enough as a family. Okay. So this park he's grown up here. Obviously adite park ino kuma like 2 years. This is where I used to come. Tondu the house is just there and so we would come here from when he was like 2. He grew up here. They go do the hoops over there like where the boys are. So we just requested if we can name this park after him, and they agreed. This Bristol City Council agreed to rename the park after Eddy. So this is Eddy Park. EK Park. Eddy King Park, but we just call it EK Park.
EK Park.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this bench we requested as for me it was a place where aratake magihota goka magaikara thi makareflect. Now because we moved out of the house they can't come there. It would have been where taru niho markete they just put some flowers outside the house. For the month that we were there planning they had put flowers all across my lawn. But then they can't do that now. It's somebody else's house. So now they have a place where they can come and sit down.
Do that.
Na nimokaga magaikara ha hwaini
Taruto
yeah, re magagioka magagikara ha maka reflect, you know, they chill out, they do what they would do when they hang out. And then they just go home. I felt like they needed a place.
Wow.
So this bench is purple because it was Eddy's favorite color.
Wow.
So he loved purple and yellow. And so they just did gold and purple, just to reflect the one that he liked.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I'm pleased about it. Even I come here often. I'll come in, I'll sit here and reflect for a little while, and then just go home. Same way as I'll do with his resting place. Usually every week I go there on a Sunday, or when it's sunny, if I feel like it anytime, I'll go there and sit on a mat and just listen to music and just reflect and just miss him. Be in that moment, because I miss him. We miss him all the time, but at least I can dedicate time and go and visit him. I can come out here and just reflect. Yeah, that whole thing about talking about it. We can have this conversation as moms and dads around things that might concern. Concerned, because I feel like the more you know. And the more we talk about it, is the more we can try and prevent it. You know, talk to the children about the lasting impact of one moment of anger. Disagreement. That one moment of anger, if you choose to use a knife, is going to affect a whole lot of people forever.
I know.
Whereas if you had figured out a way, I have an issue with your child, you know, like how we say it takes a village to raise a child. Like I'm his mom. If you came and told me, I would have had a chance to talk to him. We could have had a chance to resolve a dispute without violence and without weapons. I feel like as parents, if corona to get a conversation is Tani mwenyewe, through my experience, the way that I approach it, maybe someone else might be able to know how to help their child better if they found themselves in a similar position.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true, guys. Na nikio Irene nego corona platform yake na nitoko tugi tag social media handles cia Irene todo she is loaded nego koro agishia na aciari na kana mundu oro wothe hihi wanagerera undu hana tocio na no ende ukoro keraniria na Irene nitugo tag social media handles ciake iria tugukorwo tukimuhingura kana haria ari kotaga gukoro akiaraniria na inyui na niguo ahote gukoro akimwira maundu maria athomete na aranite ki na ni atia angihota kumwika atia educate from what she went through na nejeni muko mukiri out kwe Irene.
To be honest, I'm doing this very tentatively because I feel it's important. It's not because I have answers or I know exactly what to do or how to help.
You just want to
so
share.
I'm doing it very, very tentatively, but I do think it needs to be done. You know, I don't know why it had to be me, but I ask God for grace and guidance. You know, maybe talking about it can help someone. That's the way I look about it.
It will. Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Maybe talking about it can help prevent another person's child making that decision to go and hurt someone else's child. You know, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. It's not easy, but I feel like it's got to be done. Yeah. So we haven't had a trial yet, so we are just preparing for the trial. Kwoguo andu acio ni maramenyekanire na hena duana me charged. We've had 4 people charged, 3 people with murder and 1 person with assisting an offender. So nimanyitikanite no tutire turagia na trial yet. The trial will be somewhere in autumn, October time, but we don't have a date yet.
October time.
Yeah,
this year.
We don't have a date yet. But you know, I thank God because it's progress. Progress. Kuma kido just over 18 months. So it took a long time to get to that point, but I'm so thankful that we have charges and we are awaiting a trial. Still, once again, with such a heavy mind and a heavy heart, because trials sikoragwo sidito muno, yani nimakwiraga makuprepareaga magakwira a trial is a very difficult time. So I'm trying to prepare myself mentally and emotionally for it. Me and my children, me and my family, me and his friends. It is the outcome we wanted, but it's not going to be easy. But still, I'm thankful. Yeah, I haven't seen them. I saw the publications, like when it's when it's printed out or it's on the news. But I don't know them, and I haven't seen them.
Oh, so they put the pictures of them?
I think they did. Yeah, I think they did at the beginning. The only one I haven't seen is the fourth person charged with assisting. I haven't seen that one, but I've seen the other three. I feel sorry for them too, because they're also kids. They're not grown people. They're still young. They're still young, and it's like I said before, it's a waste of their lives as well. So we both lost. We are both losing. I lost a child, but they lose their lives as well, because this is something that you just can't get away from. So yeah. It's sad. It's sad, really. Yeah.
It's sad. Wow. Anyway, thank you muno Irene, twakena muno ni undu wa we gwitikira guka kwaraniria na ithui ona ciugo icio watunengere na gutumiriria na like I keep telling you, thina mbere, keep on pushing on. Nendamenya Irene kai tutona tunegenire na ithu tumakoririe nio me park nio me in the right place.
They are, yeah. I don't know because it's a serious interview with
the background of kids.
Yeah, but it's for the kids. This place is for the kids, and I like that it's that. I really like that it's that, because even though these ones are really young, they will always know why this is here, and that for me is significant.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I always loved children. I've always really loved kids and felt drawn to children. Wow. So this is really important to me, and I'm so pleased about the path.
Thank you muno mwiroreri na muthikiri wa Hungura Media. Nitwahinga show itu ya muthenya wa umuthi because it's getting noisier and louder and louder. Na tutikwenda inegene riko rikikatiri gitu distract muno makiria. Otoria ngumwirite mu compromise na ithu ni tondu twi park na niho turekira interview ya muthenya wa umuthi, na Irene aiguire ni wega twikire interview no haha bejine ya Eddy, because today it's all about Eddy, na nikio turekira interview haha na tutige ngata ciana tondu cikire kuria cibati gukoro ire cipaki ni guthaka marathaka, na koguo thank you muno ni undu wa we gukoro uki understand, na ni njui ni muko mugithikiria na mukigwa interview ona korwo ina tunegene na ko background. Ngai ni guteithia mukoro mukinyitanira hamwe na ithu, na toguo ndamwira Irene ena social media ciake ni tukumutagi hau thi mu follow hihi we wanagerera ona kaundu karitu makiria mwandikire araniria nake nake ni gukorwo akimucokeria na muko mukimufuata ni tondu ni gukorwo akimwira maundu maingi gucia na inyu ti ati ni guthomera thomeirio ndu cio gukorwo agishare her own experience na inyu na kumumiriria we hihi uragerera ndu cio thaici kana we wagereire tene no wega gukorwo mukiumaniriria na thank you muno ni twacokia ngatho ni inyu gukorwo mugituthikiriria Ngai witũ mũrathime na mwike maundu mega. Thank you muno.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Kwaheri.